Just sorting out my hair. Just get the centre parting just right. Sorted. Good morning. How are you? It has just ticked up to 8 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time on Thursday, the 22nd of January in the year of our Lord 2026. Thank you for joining me. You are part of the Beau Show. Beau's Breakfast Club, the BBC, the Lotus Breakfast Club. So yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm joined by Harry, of course, as always. How are you, little Harry? You all right?
Yeah.
All good? Have we got a poll up?
Yes.
It's live?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Great. Brilliant. All right, I hope everyone out there is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, raring to go on this morning. Let's just jump straight into it then. So today is one of those days where one story absolutely dominates. Absolutely, I mean, really, wall-to-wall, properly wall-to-wall. Nothing else, really. And it's that Trump did go to Davos. If you were watching yesterday, he was a loyal watcher of the Beau Show. I told you that Trump was due to speak yesterday, Wednesday, at Davos. And he did, and now that's all the news. That's all the news. You know, not a peep about anything from Venezuela or Iran or anything. Just it's wall-to-wall. Okay, so here we go. There we go. Trump hails Greenland deal and all I want is a piece of ice. So the same story. And all the papers go with it. So strap in for a whole bunch of Trump news. It's a Trump day. Okay. It's Trump's world. We just live in it. Or whoever's the president of the United States, actually, isn't it? All right, the Times. The venerable Times. One story other than the Greenland thing. My friends do not leak stories about me, Prince Harry tells court. You don't know that. There's no way of knowing that. Even your best friends that you might have had for years and years and years might, hopefully they wouldn't, but might just leak stories about you or betray you in one way or another. You never know. You can never really know people. How many wives of serial killers said, I had no idea? How many next door neighbours of terrorists and things are like, it's very quiet, I wouldn't have guessed. Your friends and family, your own mum and dad, your own brother, never knew he had this secret life. Yeah. All right. Trump hails Greenland deal for all NATO nations. President vows not to use force, that was nice. Tariff threat is withdrawn. Guess that's good. Well, it's good. Relief among allies and markets. Great. Everyone's a winner. Everyone's a winner, baby. So he did a U-turn. Basically, Trump did do a bunch of U-turns, effectively, saying that he's going to withdraw all the tariff threats. That's certainly a U-turn. The idea that he said, because he's come out and he said he won't use force. It's not exactly a U-turn, because he never sort of promised he was going to. He just sort of hinted at it, didn't he? Sort of threatened it. He never explicitly said. But anyway, it's nice to hear from him. So he did a speech, like bit over an hour long speech yesterday. I watched it all on ×2. The Donald on Fast Forward. I thought it was interesting. It's worth listening to if you're like interested in all world news and what's going on and what the world's talking about. It's probably worth listening to. A lot of the papers are characterising it as like a rant and unhinged and delusional and all that sort of thing. I didn't think so. It was quite reasonable. There's one or two things in there, as always, with the Donald, where you're like, really? Okay, all right. But most of it was perfectly reasonable, I thought. But we'll get into it as we go, and we'll talk all about it. 1 in 4 pupils starting school cannot use a book. It's funny because I read a bit of that article, I scanned it anyway. And it's not like, it's funny the way it's phrased. It's not that they can't read. It's that they can't use a book. What are you talking about? Well, they can't open a book. I don't know. Okay, yeah, so the blurb underneath, the BBC blurb for the Times, which gives you the overall idea. Donald Trump's announcement that he has reached an agreement with NATO allies on Greenland dominates Thursday's newspapers. Other people, other opinion makers and headlines are saying that he hasn't reached any sort of deal. The very idea that even a framework has been reached is kind of nonsense. Then others saying, no, there is a framework in place. We'll get into it. The Times leads with the US president announcing a framework deal, quote, has been reached after talks with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte saying, quote, it gives us everything we needed to get, quote, Other people saying that's a stretch at best. So we'll see. Right, the FT, the Financial Times. Trump calls off tariff threat after Greenland deal framework agreed. NATO meeting yields progress. Europe tensions ease. Further talks planned. Cheer for markets. Okay. Plushest boroughs suffer most in inner London house prices, or as inner London house prices take a big tumble. Yeah, loads and loads of properties, particularly higher end properties in London, are massively inflated. They're like insane prices, insane. About time there was some sort of implosion in the housing market in Britain. So normal people could dream of affording a house maybe one day. Rather than some silly little 2-bedroomed bungalow is like 400 grand. I'm glad I'm just old enough to have got on the property ladder when I did. If I was young now, if I was like 22 or 25 and making average money, you would just look at, there's no way I can afford a house. It would take me so long. It would take me like 10 years to save up for a deposit. And then the mortgage would be crippling on a crappy little house or a bungalow or a flat or something. I get why young people are annoyed with boomers when boomers say, we just worked really hard one summer and saved up to buy a house. Like in 1971, the whole house cost 13 grand or something. We just knuckled under and worked harder. It's not like that now, is it? We're not in that paradigm. Okay. The Guardian. Painful. It's painful. I live in a country where the Guardian exists. Trump claims that, quote, framework of future deal, quote, on Greenland agreed. Again, we'll get to some that say that's cope. That's Trump's cope. But, okay. President scraps tariff threat after meeting with NATO chief Rutke. In Davos speech, he earlier ruled out taking Arctic territory by force. Yeah, so I watched it, the whole thing, and he did just say, explicitly said, I've got no intention of using force. It's like, I don't need to use force, I don't want to use force, I'm not going to use force. So it was nice to say that, to hear that, right? Because I've said, I think broadly it's in the interest of the United States and even all of the Atlantic, even all of NATO, that America defends those waters. It's probably for the best. But yeah, I couldn't fanboy Trump or the US if they just, unilaterally, militarily invaded Greenland. Well, he's saying he's not going to do that. So that's nice. Whether that will diffuse the TDS from the other European NATO countries and the media, not so much. It also takes away again, I think it's a good thing, but it takes away one of Trump's sort of bargaining chips, the ultimate threat, that if you don't do what I want, the F-22s are coming in, or whatever. The Marine Corps is going to do amphibious landings in Greenland. Saying I definitely won't do that, that's off the table. That does remove, obviously, doesn't it? It removes one of his bargaining chips, but still, it would have been a crazy bargaining chip anyway, wouldn't it? So it's for the best, that's good. All right. So loads of other things. What else did he say? He said quite a lot of things in that hour-long speech. I didn't think it came across as a rant whatsoever. Other people later on will see, more in the tabloids, calling it like a delusional rant and stuff. Seemed perfectly reasonable. One or two, but before I say the good things in it, there was one or two things I thought was weird or odd. At one point, he said, and a couple of papers pick up on it, where he mentioned that the United States won World War II. The US won it on behalf of Europe, sort of thing. And he said, the old cliche, it's a cliche, isn't it, that you would be speaking German now if it wasn't for us. Right. And a couple of papers picked up on that and said, what a crazy thing to say, what a stupid, what a low resolution, crappy thing to say. The thing is, right, he said it with like a wry smile, and it got a ripple of a laughter in that chamber, in that room, wherever it was held. Right? It's a cliche. He knows it's a cliche. Papers love to do that. All sorts of things. All sorts of people like to do that, like deliberately misrepresent someone's words. There's the words as they say verbatim on paper, and then it's what they really meant in context. But had it happened to me even when I was talking about Edward I and the Scottish and flushing turds, deliberately taken out of context, deliberately, misrepresented what you said. What can you do? Bad faith people are out there. Harry, Mail tried to drive me to drink and drugs. Don't care. Don't pay so much attention to him then, Harry. How did they try and drive you to drink? Okay, I don't care. All right. Still the Beckham story. Still lingering like a bad smell. Okay. Trump, I've struck a deal for my big, beautiful piece of ice. Yeah, that was everything he said in the speech. He called it, it's a piece of ice. Which is kind of true, isn't it? It's mainly glacier, isn't it? Greenland. So that's true. He made some interesting points that, during the war, America sort of just took control or took responsibility for defending Greenland. And then after the war, like in 1951, is it? America did a deal where they sort of formally handed it back to Denmark. It's yours to take care of again now. And he mentioned that. And that America was like, did an unwise thing at that point. They may as well just have kept it. He said loads. He talked up America. I mean, Trump is a braggart, isn't he? Right. I've said before, and I'll say it again. I'm broadly on board with Trump and MAGA and USA first and all that stuff. But also, I'll call it out. He is a braggart of a man. Just boastful, very, very boastful. That's his style. Like, if you haven't got used to it by now, I think it's funny most of the time. It doesn't get my back up. For some people, when they hear Trump boasting, like, everyone hated me and now they love me. I'm the best, it's the greatest. America's the hottest country in the world. I've done this, I've done that. I've solved all these wars. The economy is the best ever because of me. If you've got Trump derangement syndrome, I could see how that would really, really bug you. But to everyone else, it's just what Trump is. It's just who Trump is. It's fine. It's no problem. What? He's like what he is first and foremost, Donald Trump, is like a New York real estate dude, isn't he? He's like a rich kid, kind of, basically. His dad was rich. He grew up rich. And he's like a New York real estate guy. So yeah, like that's who he is. How haven't you got used to that by this point? And what's the problem anyway? A statesman, a leader of a country, is supposed to big up their country, aren't they? They're supposed to try and put a rosy spin on things. Anyway, what other things did he say? He said all sorts of interesting things. Mentioned or touched upon the green hoax. You're destroying countries that are just buying loads and loads of windmills from China, and China don't even use windmills very much at all. And you're like destroying all your own natural, or just not using all your own natural resources, like Britain, the North Sea oil reserves, just not using them. That's crazy. It's like a suicidal thing. And how expensive all our fuel is, our energy is because of that. And that Trump in America, like petrol, gasoline is down to like $2 a gallon or whatever. So in that ballpark. And that he's doing it all right. And it's hard to disagree with some of the numbers. I mean, inflation is way down, right? Under Mr. Biden's inflation, Bidenomics, that worked out well, didn't it? When inflation went up to like 7% or over 7% or something. And now in the US it's down to like 2.5, 2.6 something. In Britain it's higher, isn't it? In Britain it's like 3.5, 3.4 or something in that ballpark. Well, inflation is really bad, of course. I'd like to see inflation at, ideally zero. Any inflation at all means things are just getting more expensive. So you think, inflation's down to merely 2.5, 3.5. Oh, that's good. That's not too bad. We can move on, forget about it. No, that's still quite bad. I mean, in the scheme of things, I don't know. Like in like the Reagan years or like 1980 or something, around 1980, inflation in the US anyway, and all the rest of the world is downstream from the US. More so back then even, but like inflation was like 13%, knocking 14% at one point in like 1980. So we've had much worse times. I quickly looked up just before I came on here. What was the all-time worst inflation for the US? And it was like in 1920, so just after World War One, basically. And it was like over 20%. It was like 23% or something. That's obviously really, really bad, obviously. So to have it at like 7%, although it hurts, you know, you go to the grocery store, go to the supermarket, go to Tesco's, and everything's really expensive. Or just try and buy a car or something. Well, to have it down, I suppose, keep all these things in perspective, to have it down at 2.5% or 3.5%, I'd like to see it on, like, realistically, even deflation. We have a bit of deflation. No, I'm joking. Deflation is terrible thing, but a little bit of deflation there. So cheese isn't so expensive in Sainsbury's. We get the price of a block of cheese to go down. That would be nice. All right, let's carry on with this. Trump and Davos. Market soar after president drops tariff threat. As Daily Mail reveals, he could offer Greenlanders $1 million each. Yeah, that's in the news a bit today. That one of the things apparently Trump has said, or has been leaked out of the White House, I can't remember exactly, that, you know, as a sweetener, he could give every single person, individual, in Greenland $1 million apiece. What, there's 57,000 of them. So yeah, fair few billion, of course, there. Well, 57 billion. If you go by the US billion, that's 1,000 million, not a million. There's two types of billion, isn't there? The usual one, though, is 1,000 million is a billion. So, 57 billion. The US can totally afford something like that if they wanted to. Couldn't they? I wonder if that would make the individual Greenlanders suddenly be much more receptive to a US takeover. Alright, those poor TikTok kids that died, and TikTok themselves not being very transparent about exactly what happened and all that sort of stuff. So, sad story. The Daily Star. Man baby mayhem. Is it? It's a done deal. Man baby mayhem. I'll tell you who's the man baby. Whoever the journalist who wrote that is, and the editor that signed off on it. You're being the man baby. You're the one suffering from TDS, really. It's a done deal. Wow, I wonder how long it took him to come up with that one. Well, that zinger. The iPaper. Give me Greenland now. Trump's new ultimatum to Europe. That's not really what he's saying. If you listen to watch the speech, he's not being bellicose like that. He's not being aggressive like that. It comes across reasonable. He's saying, look, over all the decades, NATO's done, basically propped up NATO for decades. Basically, almost entirely, until fairly recently, paid for the defence of Europe. We've never really asked for anything back. That's not true. Anyway, he was saying, we've never really asked for anything back, and now we just want this small thing, Greenland, and it's in your interests. It's all like that. It was all like that. He's not just demanding, give me Greenland. I demand Greenland. Well, the stealth bombers are going to start blowing up, the NATO building or something. I don't know. US President lays out his demand for Ireland and makes veiled threat to allies who refuse him. Well, he did say one thing that was basically like a very, very mild threat. What was it? I can't remember the exact wording, but it was like, going to get it one way or another sort of a thing. But he ruled out any force. He actually just did rule it out. Those were his words. I don't want to use force. I'm not going to use force. And that was the other thing. He's got a little bit of a sense of humour, isn't he? He's a bit more human than just like a politician bot. Right? Biden or Starmer. They're like a politician robot, aren't they? Coming out, standing there really woodenly, saying the policy, saying all the right things in the right order. He's not like that, is he? He shoots much more from the hip, and he's just being You know, when he said, I'm not going to use force, he suddenly just went a little bit off script, saying, oh, look, everyone's happy with that. You know, you can all breathe a sigh of relief. Okay. Trump claims framework of Greenland deal is in place after meeting NATO Secretary General. Based on this understanding, I will not be imposing the tariffs scheduled for February the 1st. That's a quote. Truth Social post from the president last night also says, quote, this solution is consummated. Yeah, consummated. Will be a great one for the United States and America and all NATO nations. Senior NATO officials warn, quote, if we don't give Greenland to the US, they will stop supporting Ukraine, quote. Okay, so all sorts of wranglings and dealings going on behind the scenes at Davos and beyond. There's one take later where someone writing an opinion piece, I can't remember if it was in the Mail or somewhere, we'll see it, we'll get to it. You're saying that all this framework is just pure delusional cope from Trump to try and, as an off-ramp, as an escape route, to climb down from his own threats. But on Truth Social, he says it's consummated. And it is real. It is a thing. It has happened. So we'll see. I mean, give a day or two, or, a few weeks at most, and we'll find out, won't we, one way or another, I would have thought. All right, the Telegraph, Daily Telegraph. Trump strikes Greenland deal. See, a lot of the papers are going with that it is sort of real. There is a deal. President drops UK tariff threat as he agrees framework with NATO for his big, beautiful piece of ice. All right. You'll be speaking German if it wasn't for us. Yes, he actually said that. Calm down, mate. Is that Tim Stanley? Tim Stanley at the Tory Graph. It's a little bit out of focus for me. I think it says Tim Stanley. Never heard of him personally. And he quotes Trump, who said, you'll be speaking German if it wasn't for us. Yes, he actually said that. Oh no. Grow up. Honestly, grow up. You're deliberately ignoring that it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, that it was almost an aside. You're just going to ignore all of that because your TDS has rotted your mind. Because you've just got an agenda, an anti-Trump agenda, an anti-US agenda. Yes, he actually said that. Shut up, mug. What a mug. Right, The Independent. All I want is a piece of ice. If you say no, we will remember. Oh yeah, that was the vowed threat. That was not even really a threat, is it really? He says, if you say yes, you'll get loads of money, we get what we want, everyone's a winner, NATO's a winner, the whole North Atlantic region, the whole Atlantic region will be winners. But if you say no, we'll remember. That's what he said. That's how he said it. We'll remember. We won't forget that if you say no. Barely a threat. I mean, it's a little bit ominous. Call it a little bit ominous, right? But he's certainly not sort of a threat of force. I mean, he took the threat of force off the table explicitly. So, tearful Prince Harry claims newspapers made my wife's life an absolute misery. Don't care. Next thing, The Mirror. The Mirror. Delusional president's rant. Daddy fool. All right, The Mirror. Again, simmer down. Simmer down. Like Daddy cool. Daddy fool. Delusional president's rant. It wasn't a rant, and it wasn't delusional. So, what are you talking about? Again, the delusion is from whoever penned that and the editor that greenlit it to go to print. They're the ones suffering from a delusion, methinks. Okay. Trump, I am loved by European leaders. You see, there's the thing where Trump, the odd thing he'll say. It's like, I don't think that's entirely accurate. Like, I'm loved by European leaders. You're not. Not really. Let's not get carried away, You're not. He talks tough, then U-turns on tariff threat. I suppose so, yeah. Starmer, I will not yield over Greenland. Don't care. It doesn't really matter what Starmer wants or thinks about Greenland, really, does it? Really? And what's he going to do? Again, what? Britain's going to go to, or Britain under the umbrella of NATO is going to go to war with the Pentagon, is it? No, it's not. So, right. The Daily Express, it's a good paper. Our struggling pubs will face years of tax rises. Yeah, they go with a slightly different story that, again, about Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel from Account, the complete incompetent, who's the Chancellor of the Exchequer, remarkably, and their continued war on the hospitality industry and pubs, saying that it's costing Britain's jobs. Well, yeah, of course, yeah, definitely, yeah. Look at the state of our high street. That's not all Labour's fault, of course. There's that 14 years of Tories to blame, largely for that. But Labour aren't reversing that trend, are they, in any way, shape or form? Look at our high streets. It's all either, well, not all, but it's largely like Poundlands, right? Places like Greg's, and then like fake vape shops, fake hairdressers, fake sweet shops. The high street's really has been sort of ruined, absolutely ruined. Largely as a result of government policy, I would say, not just like the internet. Remember in the earlier days of the internet, or like 10 years ago, they would always say, oh, you can buy things online now, and a lot of people do. That means the death of the high street. There won't be shops in the high street anymore. That didn't really work out. It's not really exactly why, is it? Of course, it has hurt actual high street retailers, but I think the reason why so many shops are just boarded up on high streets, you know, like you used to have a big Debenhams or something. It's just boarded up. It's just closed down. Yeah, loads and loads of fake shops. Thanks, government. Thanks, Tories. Thanks, Labour. Brilliant. Just lower rates. Just lower rates. You don't have to tax the country into oblivion. Why are you doing that? Why are you acting against our interests all the time? That piece of ice must be mine. This is Trump speaking now. That piece of ice must be mine. Like Trump's going to personally own it. But then Trump does deal and drops threats. It is part of the art of the deal, isn't it? Is that you start tough in negotiations. You start really tough, demanding way more than you realistically expect to get at the end. That's negotiating, isn't it? You start really tough, scare your opponent one way or another, try and intimidate them, scare them into dropping their position. And then you meet and ultimately, you meet in the middle somewhere. All right. The Metro. Harry. We see you, the Metro. We see you. I think they can just act with impunity forever. The Metro. I'd unilaterally shut down the Metro. Again, in Beau's Britain, if I was Prime Minister, probably day one. It's like, don't bring me any legislation. Get the Defence Secretary in here. Send, 50 guys from the parachute regiment, right now, to go to the building where the Metro is and shut it down. Get everyone out of that building and close it down. That's what I'd do. Hoods and plastic cuffs if need be. Right. Court hears recording of plea to cops. Yeah, this is a funny story they go with. Interesting-ish. Weird. Don't know why today of all days they've gone with this, but the headline is, Trump's boy, Barron Trump, Trump's boy saved my life with 999 call during attack. Barron, 19, contacted UK police from US when he saw woman friend being hit after rape. So the story is Barron was on some sort of FaceTime, video conference call chat thing with a female friend who was in the UK. And her own partner, boyfriend, at the time, had sexually assaulted her or raped her or something, and then was beating her up, something like this, some horrific, horrible attack, and like Baron Trump is like right there watching it, seeing it, so he just like calls up. So he's like, well, and calls up 999, and the police come around and sort of save her. There you go. There you go. It's sort of interesting. The Sun. The Sun. They really are often really quite sloppy. They've decided the most important thing today to put on the front page of their newspaper is a story about the Bake Off. The Great British Bake Off show. Anyone who might not know, anyone who's like American or foreign at all, there's a program, long-running program in Britain, where people bake things. That's it. That's the show. People come on, and professional bakers say to them, make us some croissants or something. Make us some lady fingers. Do us a big birthday cake. Make it as elaborate as you can. That's it. That's the show. That's all it is. And there's like a celebrity version of it. Right? I used to watch it a little bit years ago. And then I got bored of it, you know. I watched a dozen episodes of Bake Off. That's enough. I get it. I don't need to watch it anymore. So very, very mildly entertaining. Very mild, in my opinion. I know loads of people love it. Millions of people love it. But yeah, like a dozen episodes is plenty for me. I don't need to see it anymore. Anyway, it's been running for like 10 years, longer, I don't know. And I won't spend any more time on this because I know it's not exactly what the audience of the Beau show is interested in. So I'll quickly round up. One of the presenters of it is Prue Leith, that old lady there. And she's decided to retire. She doesn't want to do it anymore. She's had enough. And they're going to get Nigella Lawson, lovely, adorable MILF Nigella Lawson there. She's going to take over. There you go. As Prue quits after 9 years, Bake-Off judge, Nigella's a shoe-in. Like shoe pastry. She's a shoe-in. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do puns every day, The Sun. Just, you can stop. All right, let's move on then. We had a poll. I think going forward, usually after the headlines and before we dive into to the actual websites, we'll have a look at the poll. So, what was the poll today? I asked Harry to make it about Starmer and China because we did one about Greenland yesterday, didn't we? So, but I left the wording up to Harry. He put, "Do you think Starmer has been compromised by China?" Okay, and 91% of you say yes. Who's the other 9%? No. But that's interesting, isn't it? Like 91% of you say, yeah. It's hard not to come to that conclusion. I mean, compromised, what does that really mean? There's obviously many degrees, shades of grey of being compromised. But even if it's only a little bit, that's still disastrous, isn't it? That's still terrible. Anyway, yeah, 91%. So that's an overwhelming. Anything over 90% to me, in my mind, is sort of an overwhelming thing. Pardon me. So yeah, the Prime Minister of Great Britain is compromised by the Chinese Communist Party, in our opinion. Great. Obviously being sarcastic there. It's terrible. It's disastrous. That's a catastrophe, isn't it? It's a catastrophe. Try not to actually slurp into the mic. Somebody said that to me on Twitter yesterday, and I was like, yeah, good point, fair point. Shouldn't do that, if possible. Try and keep audible slurping to a minimum. All right, let's have a look at the actual websites, and we'll pass over the Greenland stuff as much as possible, because we've talked about that enough now. But there you go, there's old Mark Rutka. Shouldn't have a job. Okay, so in New Zealand, there's been some terrible weather and a landslide, and I think some kids are missing from some sort of landslide in New Zealand. Rescuers try to reach people missing in landslides as rains wreak havoc in New Zealand. Lords back UK social media ban for under 16s. Do they? The House of Lords doesn't really matter ultimately in the final reckoning. Blockbusters, battles and Brits. Hollywood gears up for Oscar nominations. I won't spend any time on this other than to say I really, really don't care about Golden Globes and the Oscars. In fact, I proactively dislike it. I'm not interested in millionaires and super famous A-listers patting themselves on the back. Self-congratulatory. It's kind of disgusting to me. So anyway, at some point, whenever the Oscars is, relatively soon, that will be in the papers the next day, won't it? The papers will be probably dominated by what happened at the Oscars the next day. Who wore what dress designed by whom? Who designed particular suits that some of the men were wearing? Who won Best Actor? Who won Best Picture? Who cares? A gymnast had a baby and isn't retiring. There you go. That's interesting, isn't it? Oh, actually, here is a mildly interesting story. Ex-intelligence officer in Austria's biggest spy trial for years. Yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting story for reals. This guy was an intelligence officer in Austria. Or is it Germany? And anyway, he was found a few years back now, like 4 or 5 years ago, was found to have been passing loads of information to Russia. And then he fled to Russia and is thought now to be living in Moscow somewhere. And his trial, in absentia, I imagine, is going forward. Just to say that Austria, or Vienna, has always been, all the way through the Cold War, was one of the places where lots and lots of espionage and counter-espionage and actual real-life spy games played out. It was sort of the centre of it in many ways. London was the other main one, interestingly. Ghislaine Maxwell to testify before US Congress in Epstein probe. Interesting, good, interested in that. Because during her trial, her criminal trial, the judge in that trial was some hand-picked Obama weirdo freak judge who allowed as little as possible to come out. As little as possible. So, if Ghislaine does appear before Congress, hopefully, fingers crossed, there'll be at least 1 or 2 people on that congressional panel, 1 or 2 Congress people, men and women, who actually are interested in the truth and who will actually ask Ghislaine pertinent questions. If that happens, that will be great. That might break open some new things. That actually might. So if she does testify, there's another interesting story actually. Oldest cave paintings of Red Claw Hand could rewrite human creativity timeline. Yeah, they found some new cave paintings somewhere in Southeast Asia. Where was it? Indonesia, Malaysia, somewhere like that. Somewhere in Southeast Asia. Cave paintings, and some people are saying, archaeologists, experts in the field, are saying they're some of the oldest ever. Because that's the thing in archaeology. You know, like, what's the oldest human settlement ever found? What's the oldest midden pit, like rubbish pit? What's the oldest rubbish pile ever found? What's the oldest this? What's the oldest that? What's the record for the oldest thing ever? And of course, cave paintings is one of those things. And like, whichever country has it is sort of a badge of honour, you know. Like the oldest cave paintings ever were found somewhere in France. So French people can be all a bit... all a bit smug about that. Well, it looks like there's been a new record set somewhere in Southeast Asia. Was it Indonesia? Let's have a quick look. Does it say real quick, just with a quick scan? Are we seeing Saipan? Oh, no, sorry. Oh, New Guinea? Sorry, it's not immediately clear to me, so I won't waste time on that. But interesting nonetheless. All right, let's have a look at the ITV news. Greenland, of course. Starmer talking tough, that he won't back down. He will refuse to back down from the demonic Mr. Trump. All right, nothing else particularly interesting. The Brit Awards. Could not care less about the Brit Awards. Really profoundly disinterested. Sky News, Trump, of course. What else? Oh, yeah, this was the opinion piece where the guy saying that Trump finally realised in his own mind that his Greenland plan was just not going to happen. And he finally realised that yesterday. And so did a whole bunch of U-turns. Because his own plan is frankly mad. And that Trump himself has realised that. Is that what's going on? He said he spoke to an insider. Who is this? Mark Stone. He said he spoke to some sort of insider. And he asked him, is this Trump's off-ramp? No actual framework of a deal yet. And the diplomat, the unnamed diplomat, the source, said, yes, exactly, yeah, that is what's going on. Mark Stone calls him his Trump whisperer. Do we trust that source or Mark Stone or Sky News? At all? I don't. He might be right, though. I'm not saying he's wrong. He might be right. But, just everything we've got to go on at this point. Is it just pure off-ramp cope from Trump, or is there going to be some sort of deal struck? Seems like probably the latter. Probably. Would have thought. Here's a little story here about McDonald's. Have you been in McDonald's recently? Have you been in McDonald's recently and noticed that it's not cheap anymore? Right? McDonald's always used to be cheap, relatively. That was the thing. That was one of the great selling points of McDonald's. It was quite cheap. Not anymore. It's just sort of normal, if not mildly expensive. I went in there like about a week ago. I went to get a double sausage egg McMuffin. Delicious. Yeah, it was like nearly a £5 just for the muffin, not the meal. You want to go and get a Big Mac meal? £7, £8, whatever it is. Really? Used to be way cheaper than that. Well, not that long ago as well. Well, inflation. Yeah, some people noticed that, like, what is it, for like one hash brown, or a hash brown or something, or two hash browns or something, it's like $1.99 now. I.e. not particularly cheap. People have noticed the McDonald's prices. Alright, let's move on. What have we got here? Okay, the Daily Mail. NATO stuff. Alright. Trump's reality check. Okay, if you say so. Still the Beckhams. Yeah, the New Zealand landslide. Ugh. Is that the moment when a load of people, including kids, got crushed and killed? Ugh. Horrible. Sad. Here's a sort of story that I think any normal person, adult person, would just see as pure slop. Just want to point it out, just real quick, for anyone who's not necessarily all that savvy or might be sort of fooled by something like this. There's a classic sort of story you might see on the Mail Online or the Express Online or the Sun's website, or just all over the internet, actually. Story says, nightmare of months of job hunting after losing my 6-figure salary at 48. From screening calls to fake adverts, my self-esteem was crushed. Then I found a trick that got me 6 offers in a month. Don't waste your time with stuff like that. It's like, do you really want to make money real quick? These 3 tips will help you make £1 million in a year. This is how I made £5 million in a year. If you follow what I tell you, you too can do it. It's always just nonsense. Always just nonsense. All right, let's move on. Channel 4. Oh, no, sorry, The Express. King Charles has a huge decision to make over Trump. No, not really. It's not his decision anyway. It's not a huge decision, and it's not Charles's decision. So it's whether he'll go and visit America in the summer for the 250th anniversary. It's not up to him. Okay, what else have we got? Europe turns to UK to bolster nuclear arms. Help us, or we will do something crazy. Not even worth reading that, really, is it? Meghan Markle's got a show that has flopped. I read a quick bit about this. Apparently she had her own show on Netflix. It had a whole season, and it got like mediocre viewing for Netflix. Like it got like 5, like the first, it like peaked at like 5 million or something viewers, and then the numbers fell off a cliff. then she's got given, as I understand it, I might have some of these details wrong. Then she's got a second series, and that's completely flopped. It's like barely registers. Like lower than the 1,000th ranked show watched on Netflix. I.e., no one's watching it. Yeah, no surprise. She's an obnoxious, vacuous nothing, isn't she? So why would you watch that? All right. The Sun's pretty sloppy today. Serving up you sloppy joes today is the Sun. So yeah, they go with Nigella Lawson taking over from Prue. That's the top story. Look at it. Look at him. Paul Hollywood's not too bad, actually, all right. He's not too bad. It's like a reasonable, normal bloke, essentially. He's into racing. He likes his cars. He's a petrol head. Okay. The Beckhams. Still the Beckhams, right? Let be. And then Andrew, straight into just slop again. Andrew. There's loads of molehills in Prince Andrew's new cottage. Big cottage. The front garden or the back garden is like infested with moles. They've got to call someone in to sort that out. Fascinating stuff, the Sun. Fascinating. Lily Allen went on holiday to Italy. More Beckham stuff. Okay, just nonsense. Let's move on then. The New York Slimes, as you can imagine, it's just all about Trump. It's all about Trump. So we'll keep going. Was there anything interesting in the New York Slimes I saw? Not particularly. Let's go with the Post. Again, did I see anything out of the ordinary that was of any real interest? No, it wasn't. Sky News Australia, how good. So the opposition, their coalition, there might be a coalition split. Days are numbered. Susan Ley staring down leadership spill after coalition split. Liberal Party figures have warned that opposition leader Susan Ley's days are numbered after she failed to keep the coalition together. I really hope Australia can vote in like a decent, even remotely based party. Even remotely. If they can get rid of like all the liberal psychos that have and are ruining that country. Please. Light will win. Event to begin with a minute's silence for slain Bondi victims. Okay. But the legislation says nothing. The anti-hate legislation in response to it says nothing about radical Islam. Okay, all right. People have a minute's silence. All right. Good stuff. New South Wales minister responsible for shark management directs swimmers to app, stands firm on no culling. I mean, what can you do if a beach is known to have shark-infested waters? I said this yesterday, didn't I? And there is some sort of provision to tell you that there's like an app telling you about it. Is it really worth trying to cull all the sharks in the ocean? That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem particularly fair. It's probably our responsibility not to go into their environment. They're just doing what they were designed to do, right? Attack things that they think are food. It's probably on us to protect ourselves from shark attacks, not to just cull all the sharks. I feel like. Am I a bleeding heart liberal for that? Harry, do another poll real quick. Should Australia cull the sharks? Put that up right now. We've only got a few minutes left, 10 minutes left, but we'll see what people say. Keep the engagement. We're gonna do engagement. All right, let's see. Quick look at Japan. Super quick look at Japan. What we got? The Japanese news is quite often like more frivolous things, but in a nicer way. I don't know. When I see the Sun or the German paper do really frivolous things, it sort of irks me slightly. But when Japan do it, I don't know, there's something nicer about it. Oh yeah, Indonesia, there they say. They mentioned the Indonesian handprints are oldest cave art found yet. So it's Indonesia, there you go. They got like a funny odd stories. Oh yeah, the guy that murdered Shinzo Abe. Do you remember that? Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago? It's a few years ago now, wasn't it? That guy had like some sort of homemade shotgun. And on TV, went up to long-term ex-Prime Minister Abe and like blasted him at point-blank range. Killed him. He's finally had his trial and was found guilty, obviously. He's caught on camera doing it. And yeah, he's been sentenced to given a life term. I do believe they have the death sentence in Japan, so I'm sort of surprised he only got life and not execution. We'll see. He'll probably go through all sorts of appeals, and maybe they'll change that. But there you go. The Abe assassin got life imprisonment. There we go. Story about sumo. Sumo season. All right, Xinhua network in China. It's pretty dry, really. Whenever we've gone to this, it's always pretty dry stuff. Geekonomics, China's vision for an open world economy in a turbulent era. China allocates new batch of ultra-long special treasury bonds for equipment upgrades. China gains output. China's grain output hits new high in 2025. So it's all very sort of dry, basically sort of economic stuff, bigging themselves up. China focus, how China's high-speed rail confronts winter's bite with black tech. Commentary, US coercion in Greenland reveals its face of hegemony. That's rich, isn't it? That's a bit rich. Coming from the Chinese, moaning about hegemony. Yeah, look at this cartoon they've done. China really cares about poor little Greenland and how aggressive and coercive the United States is towards Greenland. Yeah, all right. Don't trust you guys at all. At all. Not that I trust the Pentagon and the State Department, right? Don't pretend China are like these warm-hearted goodies. They're the goodies in this. All right, let's have a quick look at the Russians. Putin to meet with Trump's special envoy, Witkoff, today. All right. Well, we're getting towards the end, so people like space, little bit of space and or science news at the end of the hour. So should we just move on to that? Should we forget Germany? I do think that Bild... I'm going to change the German one, because Bild, although it's like the biggest newspaper in Germany, biggest news organ, it's very sort of Sun-like. It's very The Mirror. I'm going to try and find sort of a more serious one, even if it hasn't got as big a readership. Because most days, whenever I look at this, or every day I look at it, and most days when I bring it up, it's all very tabloidy slop. So I'll find a better German one for you. If there's anyone out there, let me know in the comments if you know of sort of a premier quality German news organ we can use instead. Le Monde, don't care. Okay, let's go to science and stuff. All right, science. Ice Age Europeans imported tools from distant lands, perhaps as souvenirs. In the Ice Age. Yeah, I mean, historians do discuss like how much and to what extent there was movements of people in pre-modern times. But during the Ice Age, I mean, that's really going back. Like the last Ice Age, like what, 15,000 years ago or whatever. 15,000 BC. Is that the last mini Ice Age sort of times? Or are they talking even older, like 25,000 years ago? They're importing things. Anyway, could talk about that's interesting. Could talk about stuff, that sort of stuff for a while. In the age of Trump, are US scientists bringing white papers to a gunfight? Again, moaning about Trump, even the science things. These ancient handprints may represent some of the world's first rock art. Again, that story is fascinating. Can sort of rework a little bit our idea of the human story. It's interesting, isn't it? So if you take the out of Africa hypothesis, which is only a hypothesis, and many argue isn't really exactly what happened, even if the oldest Australopithecus and some of the oldest of our ancestors are from the East African Rift Valley, that's what archaeology seems to show at this point, doesn't necessarily mean that all humans, modern humans, all come from one ancestor in East Africa. Looks like that probably isn't the case now. It's a much, much more complicated story. Because if every human, modern human descended, came out of Africa, wouldn't it stand to reason, or be most likely, that the earliest rock art would also be in Africa? Or, okay, if not in Africa, then at least in somewhere like the Near East, like the Eastern Mediterranean, or Mesopotamia, or Arabia, somewhere like that, maybe. No, it's in Indonesia. It's a long way from the East African Rift Valley, isn't it? Make that make sense. Perhaps we didn't all come out of Africa from one common ancestor. Perhaps. Okay. All right. We've made content about that before. Me and Josh, was it? On Josh's show, Contemplations. We've talked all about all the various stories and narratives around the earliest humans. All right, quick bit of space news. What have we got? Blue Origin plans a bespoke high-speed Starlink rival. So Bezos wants to have a Starlink rival. Okay, interesting. Kind of interesting. There is a worry that there's too much stuff in space, in low Earth orbit or medium Earth orbit, that there's so much stuff out there that if there was some sort of disaster, there could be a knock-on effect of space trash and all the satellites get knocked out. That might sound like just complete nonsense, but it's kind of... There's an interesting video I watched just the other day from Anton Petrov, one of my all-time favourite space and science channels. Anton Petrov, if anyone watches that. Hello, wonderful person. That's his catchphrase. I love Anton. He's really great. He was saying all about reading an actual white paper from proper scientists that study it, saying that it's actually not that crazy that if there was some sort of minor disaster in particularly low Earth orbit, like that film, is it that film Gravity with Clooney in it, where all the satellites break up into little bits and it's a knock-on effect, a domino effect, and that's not implausible. And the more stuff you put up there, the more likely it becomes. That would be a worry, wouldn't it? If one day... Oh, and it would happen quickly as well. If that domino effect started happening, it would probably play out over the course of 1 day or 3 days or something. They think, maybe. This study showed. Imagine that. It's just over the course of like a few days. There's no satellites anymore, so there's no GPS, and there's no loads, and a lot of our modern world will just grind to a halt. And it would be sort of near impossible to fix. We'd have to spend many years sending various things up into low Earth orbit to clean it up before we could start again. The human civilization, the human project, would be set back profoundly should that happen. But Bezos wants to send up loads more, like 5,400 satellites just for Bezos's Starlink rival. I mean, it's obviously a fantastic area, isn't it? Low Earth orbit, it's giant. But who knows? Anyway, I don't want to be too alarmist. It might never happen. All right. Let's have a quick look about this day in history before we round out the show. Okay, so on this day, the 22nd of January, what happened? In 1689, Prince William of Orange, the future King William III of Britain, summons the Convention Parliament to discuss ruling jointly with his wife, Mary, the daughter of the exiled King James II, a Stuart. Yeah, that's all to do with it, isn't it? The Glorious Revolution and all that. Interesting bit of history, certainly. If you're a Catholic, you don't like it, because James II was, he's a Catholic, a crypto-Catholic. A Catholic, basically, and Parliament didn't want that. They'd already fought a whole civil war against his father, Charles I. They're sort of Puritans, really. When James I looked like, or was going to reveal that he was just a full-blown Catholic, Parliament was like, no. Off you go. Out you get. we'll bring over a Protestant from Holland if we need to. So Catholics really feel sorry for James and hate William of Orange, and Protestants like William of Orange and think it was the right thing that James II was ousted. There you go. William of Orange, his horse stumbled over a molehill, he fell off his horse and got injured and died. Famously. That's one of those things, isn't it? And Queen Mary went on to rule in her own right for a while. Okay, in 1879, the Battle of Rorke's Drift. Anyone seen Zulu? I've got a bit of content on Epoch, just talking all about the film Zulu and the real history of the Battle of Rorke's Drift and the Battle of Isandlwana. If anyone's out there who hasn't seen the film, the Michael Caine film, Zulu, do watch it. It's a brilliant film, brilliant Sunday afternoon watching, rainy Sunday afternoon watching, brilliant stuff. Zulu sighted to the southwest, sir. Thousands of them. Love it. Brilliant film. It's where, as it says there, the British garrison of about 150 redcoats hold off between 3,000 and 4,000 Zulu warriors. 11 Victoria Crosses and several other decorations are awarded to the defenders. Yeah, quite a remarkable sort of last stand thing. But last stand where they won. The Zulus did retreat. So it wasn't like an Alamo type thing where all the 150 defenders were eventually wiped out. No. They held out. A few of those Victoria Crosses weren't posthumous. Remarkable. Another thing is there was a big battle of Isandlwana just before this, where the Zulus won. There's another film from the 70s as well that came out not long around the same time as the film Zulu, called Zulu Dawn, which talks about the battle that happened before that called Isandlwana, where the Zulus did beat a company or so, or was it even only just half a company of British soldiers. And then they pushed on after that victory to Rorke's Drift. 3,000 or 4,000 of them got turned back by 150 guys. And then the British Army under, who was it? Not Cardigan. I can't remember the overall commander, but we went on to completely defeat the Zulu nation. But yet they make out that the Battle of Isandlwana was a really big thing, and they humbled us. And they beat us, and it's a great victory for them. It was like a company, or maybe it's more like 3 companies. I can't remember. But it was a relatively minor victory, and you Zulus went on to completely lose that war. So, bit of cope really, bringing up Isandlwana all the time. We'll move on. In 1905, the Russian Revolution. That's obviously not the 1917 Russian Revolution. There was another one in 1905, which the Tsar did put down. It says there, in 1905, a large demonstration of workers in St. Petersburg, Russia, led by Father Gapon, marches to the Winter Palace with a petition to the Tsar. Troops fire on the protesters in what becomes known as Bloody Sunday. Yeah, it's pretty bad. In history, there's lots of Bloody Sundays. If you're a Brit, you probably think like there's only one Bloody Sunday, and that was in Northern Ireland in the 70s, when the parachute regiment shot on Irish people. That's Bloody Sunday. But no, if you go on Wikipedia or just Google it, there's many Bloody Sundays in history. Whenever there's a massacre, nearly, it ends up being called Bloody Sunday. So this is just one other Bloody Sunday. Yeah, the people of Russia in 1905 were, a lot of them were starving and freezing to death and living under terribly harsh conditions. And they just thought, a bit naively, but surely if only the Tsar, the kindly, lovely Father Tsar, if he just knew about it, he would save us and do something about it. All we need to do is go to St. Petersburg and tell him, and he will save us, because he loves us. He wouldn't allow us to live in such penury and misery, if only he knew. So they decided to go there and do that. And, the Tsarist forces, the Cossacks and the soldiers, just fired into the crowd and killed loads of them. There you go. Apparently Nicholas himself, Tsar Nicholas II himself, was a bit cut up about it. He was. He didn't order that personally. And when he found out about it, was upset, but it is what it is. He was the autocrat of all the Russians. It's up to him to make sure something like that didn't happen. Anyway, all right. 1908, Katie Mulcahy, Mulcahy, Katie Mulcahy, is arrested for lighting a cigarette, violating the one-day-old Sullivan Ordinance, which banned women from smoking in public. And she's fined $5. Probably a fair bit of money in 1908. Appearing before the judge, she states, quote, "I've got as much right to smoke as you have. I never heard of this new law, and I don't want to hear about it. No man shall dictate to me," end quote. Yes, very brave. An important landmark in history. In 1973, in a landmark decision, the US Supreme Court legalises most abortions. That's Roe versus Wade, the Roe versus Wade decision. Writing the majority opinion, Justice Harry Blackmun states that the criminalisation of abortion does not have, quote, roots in the English common law tradition, quote. There you go. Well, it was overturned, wasn't it, in recent years? 2 years ago now? Longer, is it? It was overturned, so... That was a moment in time, Roe versus Wade, really. From 1973 to, when was it, 2002? It's 22. Anyway, it's been overturned now. All right, well, that brings us to, it's now 6 minutes past 9 in the AM, Greenwich Mean Time, on Thursday, the 22nd of January in the year of our Lord, 2026. Thank you for joining me. Without you, this doesn't happen. You are the glorious band, the chosen few, who have tuned in live to watch the Beau Show, Breakfast with Beau. Do try and make the best of the day. You know, it's the first day of the rest of your life. You only have this day once in history. Once it's gone, it's gone. Carpe diem, seize the day if you can. Well then. So until tomorrow morning, take care.